Well, you were cellmates with the Banano boss, Joe Massino.
Yeah.
Now, he has a very interesting story.
Yeah.
This was the first Mafia boss to cooperate.
Was it? Was he the first?
The first. They actually call him the last Don.
Yeah, I know. D'Arco was a boss for the Lucchese's. I don't know if it was before him but I know. Yeah, you're right. He was one of the first, if not the first. Yeah.
Yeah, he cooperated in 2002.
Yeah, so D'Arco must have been after then.
Yeah.
He was with the
when
gas
were you
pipe.
locked up with him?
So I was locked up with him in 2011 for about close to a year.
Oh, so this was after he cooperated.
Yeah, we were locked up in the same unit.
Well, the Joe Massino story is very interesting because, like I said, he was the first one to cooperate. He was facing life in prison and didn't want to do it. So I interviewed Dominick Sakali, who basically laid out the story about how he did it. And it was very calculating. It was almost like a movie in a way where, he really didn't have anything to offer to get out of this.
Who didn't?
Joe Massino.
Of course he did.
Well,
go ahead,
let me get to that. Let me
get
get to that. So initially, they felt he didn't have anything to offer in terms of cooperation. But before he went in, he put a word out that one of the other guys, Vinny Basciano, should kill the prosecutor in his case. So then when Vinny was in jail with him, they had a kind of a conversation about it, and Joe Massino was wearing a wire. So he went to the authorities and said, I got something for you. There's a hit out on the prosecutor. But this was something that he kind of put together, and he sort of put the seed in and ultimately used it to get out of doing life in prison.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Well, it don't make sense with the part where he already was in there wearing the wire. So the feds already wanted him in there wearing the wire. He was already getting information by wearing the wire, and he was getting information on other murders and plots.
I guess he wore the wire to prove that there's a hit out on the prosecutor.
Well, listen, I know Dominick. I don't know him great. I talked with him on, a few times, and I'm sure he knows a lot more because he was with the Bananos.
Yes.
I can just tell you what I know. I was cellies with Joe. I wasn't in his crew. I was active down there at the time when all that stuff was taking place. Even Joe was arrested. But Joe went to trial on his case and was found guilty. And then he reached immediately out to the judge to tell him he wanted to sit down with the prosecutors.
Right.
So that's what happened. First of all, he rolled the dice and tried to get found innocent, right? And he cooperated instead of doing it before. He said, maybe I got a shot to beat this case and, I'll win. But he didn't. So he's going to get life in prison. Before he's going to get sentenced now, he sits down with the government. He's got a lot to offer them because he was only charged with, I think, 5 or 6 murders, and he gives them another 8. That's number one. So you just said the guy there that did 27, they let him out, right? And they let him out. So he's got another 8. That's another 8 cases closed. He's got another $8 million to give him. He had $8 million in gold bars and cash. This is what he told me out of his own mouth. In his cellar at his house, $8 million, and he forfeited that to the government. But they allowed him to keep, I don't know, I think it was $14 million in properties that were bringing him in rentals and his supporting his wife and his family off those. So that was another thing that he had a way out with those extra murders. And then on top of it, he's already in prison. He's a boss. He's going to get sentenced. So it makes sense, send him up to MCC. And from what I always was understood, and this is coming from Joe Massino's mouth, was there was this guy, Randolph Pizzuto, something like that. Pizzolo.
Yeah.
So I guess Vinny, I don't know if that was part of Dominick's case, but they clipped him. And going back, I heard that there was rumor. There was the Quiet Dom's kid also got killed at this time. And I remember being on the street when Quiet Dom's kid got killed. And again, they told us that there could be a beef between us and the Bananos because they thought, I don't know if it was this Rudolph guy, Pizzola, killed Quiet Dom's son. So that was when Joe went to get wired up and talk to Vinny Basciano, he was asking him more or less about who killed the kid, Pizzola. And about, did he take out, what happened with Quiet Dom's kid? Because that was the boss. Quiet Dom was the Genovese boss. And, word is that he killed his own son, whatever. Quiet Dom had his own son killed. And I think that's what Vinny told him. He said, no, Quiet Dom had him whacked. And as far as the prosecutors, I guess there was a list that Vinny said he was Santeria type shit. He was trying to put but there was a list of them, not just the U.S. attorney, but it was also other, maybe the judge, the prosecutor, it was like a few people's name on that list. And I don't remember that getting brought up on the wiretaps. And if it was, it wouldn't really matter because what really would have mattered is the fact that Joe's going to testify in person against Vinny and the fact that he's got him talking about the Pizzola murder.
Okay, so after Joe Massino cooperated as a boss, he still remained in prison?
So he was a boss. He ends up putting this guy, Vinny ends up being acting boss while Joe is going to prison. So Joe's rolling the dice. It takes a couple years for him to go to trial. So I think it was like 03 to 05 it took, or 02 to 04, something like that. So as he's waiting trial, Vinny's acting boss. Joe says that Vinny wasn't, just as usual, once the boss is away, all the rackets come in. The boss is supposed to be getting his end, and little by little it gets less and less. So Vinny wasn't keeping up with his end on the agreement of, giving him his money that he was supposed to be coming. And then people were getting killed, and Joe wasn't given the okay on it. And he was like, Vinny was becoming the actual official boss of the family. This is coming from like Joe's mouth. But again, Dominick was out there at that time, so he would be more in the know on the, he was a captain in the Banano family. He has to be in the know. I'm just saying what Joe came out of Joe's mouth while me being locked up. So Joe is still boss, but he's an informing now after his conviction. But it doesn't come out right away. It doesn't come out until he goes to get sentenced, and he receives 2 life sentences. Now he's got to wait and get a Rule 35 to get his 2 life sentences reduced to, I think he ended up doing like 13 years on it. I think he got arrested around 02-ish, and I think they let him out around 2013.
Yep, 2013, he gets out, and he goes into the Federal Witness Protection Program.
Yeah. I know somebody called me, and he was living in Cleveland.
Yeah, he passed away September of last year.
Yeah, and then he reached out through somebody. He was funny as hell in prison. I tell you, he had a belly out to here. You remember the guy, Jackie Gleason from the...
Yeah.
He reminded me of him.
Yeah,
he was a funny bastard. We used to talk till 4 in the morning, telling me all the old stories with the Bananos and all that. Just a funny guy,